live, and it's Saturday afternoon.
Hey gang, thanks for tuning in. This is our first collaborative live Facebook broadcast. Patrick King here with my good friend Jake Biernbaum here at the BBRC Foundation Station. If you're checking in, be sure to tag some of your friends in the comments, bring them into the conversation. We hope that you brought some questions today. I know, Jake, we've got a few questions that were posed to us beforehand on each of our pages, so we're hoping to answer those for folks. And like we said, if you've got more specific questions, then you can type them into the comments below in the video section. And again, invite your friends out too. So, all right. So, Jake, I think one of the ones here, if you're all right with it, I'll read this one off for you. I think this is a great one for you. Okay. It seems to be where a lot of your focus is going. This was asked in our Patrick King Horsemanship discussion group. We'll have the link to that discussion group in the show notes after the broadcast. This question came from Carla, and Carla wants to know what are some of the key principles, skills, and training that you would recommend for the development of the horse and rider that's interested in the versatility ranch horse competition. And like I said, I know that's kind of where a lot of your training is going. So
yeah, we just actually stepped off a horse. Actually, I can see the horse in the window here. We were playing with some cows outside before we hustled in here to be live with you guys. So some of the things that we're looking at doing with those ranch horses is we really want to make sure, and this is any horse, that we can go good standstill first, then forwards, backwards, right, left, up, and down, and be able to control all those movements. And then can we isolate, separate, and recombine each of the zones of the horse? So nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, and hip. Make sure we can have all of those individually go forwards, backwards, right, left, up, or down after we have a good standstill. And then when we start talking about more maneuvers and skills, we want to make sure that every time we have a good stop, that the horse is ready to back up. So we want to go with stopping in mind. And this prepares us to stop with then getting that back happening. And if they back, with making a quality move in mind. Okay, so if we can go with stopping in mind, stop with backing in mind, and back with making a quality move. That might be more forwards, that might be a turn right or left. Okay, it might be stand still with quality. Okay, and we're going to really see that, especially when we start getting into playing with cows. Okay, because you're going to have your cow and your horse, and you need to be able to come over here, stop, are you ready to back, and maybe just stand still. If the cow goes this way, you might need to turn to go over here. Okay, a lot of times with a ranch horse, and to have them be versatile, we need to be able to teach cattle to stand still. You're going to do that with your horse, get them to balance, and then we'll want to have good hindquarter and forequarter yields, because depending on what you're cow to do, we want to have the hindquarter swing away to maybe open a door for a cow to come through a gate that we're blocking these cows from, or set up a move for then the forequarters to swing through with quality backwards and away with the forequarters to again stop that cow. A lot of the ranch horse stuff is really based around moving cattle. That's what these big ranches are for. That's what those horses needed to do. Needed to go out, travel long miles, go find those cattle, bring them together. I do a lot of serpentines. Okay, when we look at a serpentine, we're going to go way more left before we go right, and we're going to go way more right before we go left. So as you come around, if this is the cattle's bubble, you're going to come up, bump their bubble to move, ask them to move right away so that they can start to slow down so you don't bump them too hard. Get your turn, come in, bump them to ask them to move again, and slow down to come around. Okay, so having those good serpentine patterns, which again comes back to just basic hindquarter and forequarter yields.
And that goes into the ranch trail too also, right? And that's part of that division there, the ranch trail, and then the movements that you're talking about, that would be in there as part of maybe the ranch reining and that sort of thing, simulating how your horse would be working on the cattle.
Exactly. So hope that gives you a start, Carla, on some skills. The biggest thing is really thinking about nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, hip, being able to go stand still, forwards, backwards, right, left, up and down, have all those zones very controllable so we can control them if we need to, but then start teaching them jobs to do, like moving the hindquarters and the forequarters with quality, really good backing, and then we can start doing those patterns. Good serpentines, good circles, good straight lines, and then you're going to look at things like opening gates, looking at swinging a rope, doing things so a horse can really read you and be confident that this business over here has nothing to do with you. So I might say, come over here, by the way, this doesn't mean anything, okay? For if we're going to do any roping, or again, opening that gate, you might have to talk to your horse while that gate's swinging around and moving, and they need to understand that's not about you, that's something separate. So
awesome. And you know what I like from what I've seen with the ranch horse versatility stuff that I've experienced is just awesome about having a solid horse, you know, a solid partner there that, you know, occasionally they have, I know where we are, they don't always have the cow working portion in there, but it's always about having that solid partnership with the horses. Yeah, as you get that.
You know, and you spend a lot of time riding with Ray Hunt, and I've watched a lot of footage of him. I saw him live in person a few times. I didn't ever really get to ride with him, but he talked all the time about ride your horse every day like there's a cow there. Okay, and it's like over here, pretend like you're checking that one. Oh wait, there's one over there. We got to turn our horse to go check this one over here. Oh wait, move my hindquarters because now there's a new one over here. You got to ride up here forward. Oh wait, back up. She's getting a little bothered. You better get away. And
Absolutely.
he would visualize that there was cattle in the arena. And I know personally, not until just a month ago did we have any cows on hand for me to play with regularly, and that's just how I ride my horses, is visualize that being there.
Yeah, always for a purpose, even if it's an imaginary purpose.
That's right.
You never ask your horse to do something just because I said so,
that's right.
but because there's an actual purpose.
I learned that as a kid. My dad said, just do it because I said so. It sure didn't work on me. There needed to be a good reason why, and I remembered that till this day. And it's the same with horses. So
right. Awesome.
What
Good.
else do we got on
well,
the list?
hopefully, Carla, that helps you out to answer your question. Again, guys, if you're just checking in with us, be sure to tag some of your friends in the comments below. Bring them into the discussion as well. Have your questions lined up. We've got a couple more here that we want to answer. And, as soon as we get these through, then we're going to open the floor up to anybody who wants to ask a question. So,
do we want to... Hi, Byron. Do we want to take care of this? Byron's kind of asking
let's
about
see what we've got here.
what I was just talking. So how do we get the horse to understand swinging the rope isn't part of the request while all else is? So that's gonna be that isolate, separate, and recombine. So can we just have that horse be conditioned to, while we're standing around, swing? So most all horse trainers, clinicians either use a flag or a stick and a string, a crop, an extension of their body. You have the extendable pole, and I really like that tool as well. And so I'm going to use those kind of tools to start that process, that when I kind of got la-di-da going on, that it's moving up and around. If we picture, Byron, that this is going to be the horse, a horse can get really good at reading the trajectory of your swing, that it's coming this way and this way, so it's not touching them physically, and then I'll change, and here comes the swing, and the horse needs to read. It's going to get you if you don't move, so you need to start coming out of the way. And so that's how I start, is with my groundwork, really getting them to read my intention and body language with my tools, that it's coming this way, so it's not going to get you in any way. But if it's coming this way, you need to start thinking about moving out of the way with it so it can take that path and keep going. So.
Awesome. Great. Okay, and hey guys, it looks like we've got quite a few. We're on both channels now. We are on the BRC Foundation Station page, and we're also live from the Patrick King Horsemanship page. So if you see us kind of swapping back and forth between cameras here, that's what that's all about. We don't mean to be looking offset from somebody here. We're just checking out, making sure we're making contact with both cameras. So let's see, and did you have a question on your phone there?
Yeah, I did.
Came in through your
page. Maria. Maria's my hairdresser, if you didn't know that. Awesome. She's my personal hairdresser. Maria wants to know about her horse has been ridden in a rope halter hackamore, and she'd like to transition to a real basal, so a rawhide hackamore, so she'd get better flexion and lightness, and she's still a bit racy. Best way to transition. So I'll share kind of my experience, and I think you have as well, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I really look at the idea of a hackamore is about teaching your horse to be sensitive to signal, okay? And so there is the knot at the bottom of the hackamore, whether it's a rope halter or a rawhide hackamore, and they have the big heel knot at the bottom, and then you have the weight of the reins wrapped on there. And when you pick up on the reins, you're picking that knot up, and it should be like ringing a doorbell. And some people's doorbell goes, you can barely hear it. Okay, that's going to be like a really lightweight Bosalita. And other people's doorbell goes ding dong. Okay, and that's going to be a real heavy, like a 3/4 inch hackamore with a
lot more weight
to it. Okay, and so we can recognize that that's kind of maybe how we would like to ride a hackamore versus I rode with Martin Black once, and he kind of made the joke, you can do it like that, or you can use a big, thick, heavy hackamore and a baseball bat one around if they're really heavy on it. And the point he was trying to make is we're not talking about beating our horses, but they can run into that if you need a heavier one to do it, but it's not going to last very long that it's that effective, because we're going to realize it still is pretty thick, and they could really lean their face into that a lot more than thick now, okay? And so if we're going to have to use pressure to get them off of it, okay, we'd rather look at signal, okay, that we can say, hey, can you feel this not picking up, okay? And when it's at rest, it rests on their chin. And so when it picks up, we want them to think, can I put my chin back on that? It was nice when it was resting on there, okay? And so they'll start finding that comfort spot by shaping up, tucking their chin to follow it. So if we can be aware of that, and then look at how do we want to make that transition, you're going to look at, if your horse has learned to be a bit bracy, you're maybe going to go to a thicker, heavier 5/8 or a 3/4 inch, and we're going to look at what you can call jingle bell rein. I call it the Babaran rein, and think about, you're going to use that rein like you're milking a cow, okay, except you're just going to do it in reverse, and so you're going to lift that, it's going to bob. If this was the knot, it's going to go bob, 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 baran. Okay, and that starts to get some rhythm that it gets their attention. They go, what's that? What's that? And when you get that attention, you go, oh, that's all. Hi, guy, good to see you. Looking good. Okay, and when we kind of have that rhythm there, they can start following that and get their attention. Instead of a steady pull, okay, it's like if I were to take your hand, and if all of a sudden I start jerking on you, you're going to start bracing up to hold, versus if I can kind of get a little rhythm in life, and then all of a sudden we can start floating around together. Instead of if I just go, come over here, you're going to start going, why are you pulling on me? Okay.
Some of you guys thought we were going to dance there, didn't you? Admit it. You thought we were getting ready to dance.
We're holding hands.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to start with using that Bob Rand rein, that jingle bell rein, to get their attention. I did a savvy moment on this, so Maria, you can check out that savvy moment. And where you can see that, and I do the same thing when I ride in snaffle bridle with the slobber straps, to get them to feel the weight of that big heavy slobber strap picking up. And again, it's just that nice soft rhythm. We're not trying to jerk their face, which somebody a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I think, saw the old man in the barn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, riding his horse, and they saw him do that, and they just went back to the Tashi station where they were picking up their power conversion and said, hey, I saw him, and he just jerked them, and they didn't realize that it was a soft, just this light little feel that they were picking up. And now you see guys in the warm-up arena, and they're jerk, and that's all they're doing, and it's not the idea with that kind of rein position. So that if you can be aware of that, and then start with, probably for a brazier horse, that kind of heavier feel, but really light, start bobbing that around till they start looking and just tipping their nose and neck. I'm not looking for the feet to do a lot, okay? If we think about the nose and the mind being the same thing, and if I can take my mind over here, my nose went and looked at Patrick. And if I can get the nose to start looking directions, the feet will start to follow. And it's not such a big demand. So that's kind of where I would start. Patrick, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts with that are pretty much, I'd say, the same. You know, the kind of lift and drop like that, you know, the bobbing rein, it works as that signal. It kind of activates the hackamore, and it adjusts the balance. And the horse, like you're talking, seeking that on the chin, the horse will learn to want to seek the balance of that hackamore so that everything sits quiet in the middle. And it can be so easy to get one bracing against the hackamore if you're too heavy with it or too constant in that hold. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's just kind of a buffalo, you know? The horse needs to learn how to work off of that signal and off of that softness. And if we're doing a lot of pulling on it, well, then the horse is just going to learn even more to lean into that. So this idea of rocking and adjusting the hackamore like that, you might have to wait, you know, pack yourself a lunch. You might be sitting on your horse waiting for quite a while if he's really learned to lean and brace against that. And the idea is, you know, you ask until. People ask me all the time, how long do I do this, that, or the other thing, whatever it is they're trying to do with their horse. You ask until. That's the big trick. You just got to wait. You know, it's not about us understanding what we want them to do. It's about the horse understanding. You got to wait until the light bulb goes off in his head, and that's when you quit. It's kind of like somebody told me, you know, when you're wrestling with a gorilla, you don't quit when you're tired. You quit when the gorilla's tired. That's right. You know, you got to just. I'm not saying we're wrestling with your horse here, but you've got to hang in there until the horse starts to seek that right answer. We're asking the horse always, I think, what does this aid mean to you in this moment? Whether it's the rein, whether it's the leg, whether it's your seat aid. And so the horse's answer is never wrong because of the way we framed the question. We've said, what does this aid mean to you in this moment? And the horse says, well, it means lean. If we're talking about the hackamore in this sense, it means lean. That's what the horse thinks it means. So, you know, we're not going to say, no, that's wrong. We're going to hang there. We're going to say, well, what does it mean to you now? How about now? What does it mean to you now? And we wait until that better answer comes through, more of the answer that we're looking for. And what we release on is what they're going to recreate. It's what they're going to repeat. That's right. You know. So as far as the way we'd use that hackamore, I think we're right on the same page with that.
Okay. So, hope that helps you on Maria and start transitioning over from that rope halter into maybe a rawhide nice basal. Okay. What are you thinking? You want to talk about, say hello to Byron?
Yeah, let's say hello to Byron. Byron, I hope you're out there watching. I know you've tuned in to each of the broadcasts that we've already done. We've both had the opportunity to meet Byron. I've ridden with Byron quite a bit, and he's always pumping in awesome questions. So Byron's question: after our foundation training, when do we start asking for specifics, and when do we start cross-training with the horse? And being that we're at the B-Bar-C foundation station, I think it's only right. I'll turn the foundation question over to the man right here.
So foundation, I think about can a horse yield in and from all zones? So I already talked about nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, hip. So it's like I need to be able to yield them in that nose zone, okay? But could I do that from back standing over their ribs and mounted or standing next to them on the ground, okay? So that's the in and from. That's kind of what that means. So I need to be able to talk to their hip from their nose. And if I can yield all those zones in and from all of them, and I want to be able to do it at a standstill, walk, trot, and a canter, okay, in all directions, forwards, backwards, right, left, up, and down. I start thinking of that being a foundation, and even more complete foundation, can you do it on the ground and in the saddle? And that's when you really have a horse very exposed. And in process, depending on a horse and a person, a horse might have been born for a job, okay? Mm-hmm. It's a quarter horse, and it's got really great cow horse breeding. You're going to start thinking, well, I'm going to bet you this is going to be more of that ranch horse, cow horse, rein cow horse, cutting horse. And so I'm going to be aware as I can, as I'm doing the foundation, to not tell the horse, no, we can't talk about college things yet. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're still in kindergarten. I'm going to see that natural inclination to be good at something, and I'm going to encourage that along. So you actually start, Byron, right in the beginning. Okay, it might be in the first ride or first few rides that I take a cow horse and go just follow. Like, there they are. Okay, follow them around, and I can get that horse to go and whoa, and maybe get a little bit of hindquarter control so I can keep myself safe, and then I just allow them to do that. And in process, I'm thinking about my foundation training sequence where I'm going to look at going and whoaing, tipping the nose and the neck, getting them to turn, start turning into serpentine. Oh, wait, did we already talk about doing serpentines while pushing a group of cows? Oh, so I could be doing those beginning riding exercises, and then turning it into a circle, and then some straight lines from there. That's kind of my training sequence when I ride. I could be doing that real early with the cows already there, which is, it's a specialization, but I can make sure I'm getting the foundation right first and staying out of the way of their natural ability to do a specialization. Same thing with dressage horses, going to be your area. The few that I've got to start and be around, they start showing you some of that flashy up and down and fancy stuff. I kind of get out of the way and go, what a great idea you had. I had no idea. And this kind of reminds me back to when I was in high school. I had a teacher in my organic chemistry class, and I'd start asking questions. But when you did the thing with the Grignard reagent and the thing with the chemicals and the compounds and the such, I don't remember all the things a while ago, but she would say, stop, just quiet. You're confusing everybody else. I'll talk to you after class. Okay, and so what you would do is then bring back, okay, listen, you saw the thing that in this high school book, we don't talk about that because it's confusing, but here's the college book, and she'd bring it out and not make me wrong for having a natural inclination to do that. So my dad is a professor and done a ton of science, so it's kind of genetically in there for me to be okay at science, and instead of making me wrong, she said, yeah, and we'll talk about that. And that just allowed me to excel in that area and move ahead, okay, without saying, but you got to learn this baby stuff first. And that's what I think about when I'm around young horses and dogs, is that ability to say, yep, foundation, but you can allow some of that to come in sooner rather than later. Where people get in trouble is they start doing that and they go, oh, he's good at jumping, let's jump more, jump more. And then they forgot to teach the horse more confidence, teach him more yields, and then start looking at patterns and purpose. And that's that important piece. You got to make sure you have the confidence, then the yields, then you can have patterns and purpose from there. Right. So that's kind of what I think about that. Right. How does that fit with your?
Yeah, program? And that's I would say that's very much in the same line, and when it comes to the cross-training idea and the foundation work, we might be those cows you talked about, some of the warm bloods that I start, and the horses that are going to go on more to the dressage side of things, those horses, we try to follow the cows also with them if we have them available to us, because they help those horses think forward and confident, and they kind of get the horses coming straight and things like that. And that's great. We're farther along the line with our dressage horses, So when we talk about the idea of cross-training can happen within the first or second ride in the foundation, and a lot of that intermingling of other disciplines I feel is important for every horse, because it keeps things fresh. It gives them the purpose to it. A lot of you out there watching, if you've seen me start colts or seen me ride young horses, you'll know that I start pretty soon off with a Rocha with these young horses, because it helps to give them a purpose. Yeah. You ask these dressage horses or these quarter horses or these, Arabs or whatever you're riding, it doesn't matter if it's going to go on to be a race horse even. I've started quite a few race horses, and we put those on cows. We say, hey, here's a purpose. Here's why we go straight. We go out on the trail as fast as we can. I should say as soon as we can, not as fast as we can, because there's a big difference there. But we talk about going out there on the trail as soon as the horse is ready, for me or for you, and that might be different than the client, right? That's going to be riding that horse. They might not be able to quite handle those things. But we get the horses out there, and they say, why would I move my shoulders over? Oh, well, there's a tree. I need to move my shoulders around the tree. Why do I need to step my hindquarters across? Oh, well, it's, to avoid stepping over this boulder or something like that. Having that purpose, and so we can use the cross training, we can use those little specifics early on to help the horse understand the foundation. It's like being in school. I was never very good at math, but as soon as I had to start making change, then things start to make sense. Right. You can talk about adding and subtracting all you want, and if it's just to me numbers or something up there around fantasy land, unless I've got a specific reason for the numbers, unless I can link in my brain what those are all about. So like I say, when I started making change, numbers started making sense. So Byron, I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea as to how each of us, and again, I feel like we're kind of giving you the same answers, but coming from different saddles, and my pants are tighter and sexier than Jake's, but again, we hope that helped you out. Again, guys, don't forget, invite your friends, tag your friends in the comments below, invite them to join in on the conversation. And what are you doing? You got a live broadcast of us live. And there's a little delay in there.
That's interesting.
That's wild. Okay, so we have another question that came in here from Chilla. Okay, good. I didn't want to say the name wrong. So awesome. And Chilla wants to know, how much warm-up and stretching do we do before a performance ride or ride on a performance horse, especially in the winter when it's cold? Now, I'm not sure where Chilla's from. I know where I came from in Ohio. It was really cold.
Chilla just recently this year moved up to, or last year I think, up to New York. So it gets pretty cold up there.
So she knows what cold's about.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'll
No,
tackle that one first, and then I want to hear
all
what
the
you
questions.
think. Yeah,
You do
right.
something.
Right.
Come
I
on.
can. Yeah,
You're up there. I live in
here.
Florida. I live in Florida now. We
true.
walk outside and it's warm. So walk outside when you're in Florida. It's warm. Ride your horse.
That's it.
Now, Patrick,
That's it.
up where it's cold.
So absolutely. So the warm up becomes, I feel, even more important in the cold, that we focus on really adequately warming the horse's muscles up, because in the cold, that's when we have chance. We're more prone to injuries, to overstrain, things like that. And then the cooling down also is something we need to really focus on as well. We get these horses sweated up a little bit and that sort of thing. If we just kick them out with the cold too fast, or put them up too fast, they can end up really getting sore. It's just like us, if you think about it. I mean, muscles are muscles, bodies are bodies. In the colder weather, it's really important that we take a much longer time to warm up. Cold muscles are more prone to injury, like we said. So we spend a lot of time. It doesn't matter if it's a performance ride or if it's a trail ride. We want to make sure the horse is prepared and the muscles are all warmed up. Now, if it's a performance ride where we're really asking for high degrees of collection, that sort of thing, probably asking for different muscle use than what we might on the trail ride. So we would have to spend a longer time doing that. Specifically, what kind of warm-ups you do, well, that's going to depend on what kind of work you're going to do. So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
The other thing you can think about with that too is how much are you doing groundwork? Some people don't do groundwork. Okay, they saddle up, they get on. You're going to do a longer time of walking that horse, giving him a chance to get loose, and doing some long, slow and easy trotting, and then getting into your canter work. I knew a girl that rode with Luis Lucio over in Spain, and it was a requirement that you walked for 20 minutes on every horse before they were allowed to do any trotting. Now, they maybe didn't do a lot of groundwork beforehand, versus a lot of people that I think you and I teach are doing a fair bit of groundwork. Okay, so you're going to get that, and I don't like to make rules of 20 minutes. It has to be this thing, but you could get that 20 minutes of walking and easy trotting in before you're ever even on that horse. And so now when I get on, I'm still going to give them time to get used to my weight, but they might already have a bit of a sweat up from the groundwork. They're going to be ready once I'm on there a lot sooner than if I had just stepped on. And so that's another thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about how's that warm-up going. And did you give them a chance to get equally stretched and going in forwards and backing and making right turns, left turns, okay, and start picking them up and stretching them down. So those are some things, too, to think about with what Patrick was saying, that it's going to depend also on what kind of performance. So,
absolutely. So hopefully that helps you with questions. Let's take a look here and see what we've got scrolling through here. If there's any other questions that we've got, we're good over here.
I know I got one over here. Ellen.
Okay.
Hi, Ellen. Ellen's one of our good friends in Illinois, and she says, when mounted, how will you use your legs to ask your horse's rear legs to step under towards stationary front legs? My boy gets confused and thinks I'm asking for a zone 4 yield. So the difference in asking the hindquarters to swing back and forth versus step those hindquarters up towards the front end to get a lot more compression. I don't know about you, but I think that's maybe a little more your wheelhouse, Captain Stretchy Pants. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds that's an awesome question, Ellen. And when we've got our horse really coming sensitive to our legs and to our seat, then we run the risk of having a horse think, oh, maybe you're meaning this, maybe you're meaning the other thing. When we're talking with our legs like that, asking the horse to move the hindquarters left and right, and then we ask the horse to step forward, that's going to come primarily through my seat. The difference there is going to be in the engagement of my seat. If I'm asking, say, for the hindquarters to step from the left to the right, there's going to be kind of a swing in my hip, okay? And depending on how far along the horse is, it might be a very subtle shift that no one would even be able to see, but my horse would be able to feel. When we're earlier on in that, you might think I'm having too much to drink and falling off the saddle or something. I might be shifting my hips that much. So it's going to depend on how sensitive the horse is, how much he needs. But that change then when I'm asking the horse for forward, I'm kind of opening my seat, coming back with my core, and down riding forward from there. So my horses would understand the difference because my seat's going to be square and encouraging that forward energy versus kind of angled off to the side that way. So that's where I would be. I hope that that's helpful to the question right there.
I think that's a great start. Something, if I were to add anything to that, it would be sometime I'm going to start working in that direction. I might think about the hind leg stepping side to side first, okay? And then you could consider, I mentioned already, forwards, backwards, right, left, then up and down, that's going to be an up with their back and they're stepping up with their hind leg. First is it is forward, but it's forward and up, that I better have a good right and left with my hindquarters, and then I can start shifting that, and my seat is going to block with the outside, that I'm going to say step to the right and under and forward, and then it can turn into more and more. So you're going to have that kind of get a little country girl, shake it for me girl, swinging those hips side to side, and then I might bring it a little more forward, and I'm going to do less and less, which again is what you were talking about with your seats. That might be how I would exaggerate it and think about it, and you could break it down in that way, that it's not a bad thing or confusing the idea of a zone 4 yield, a hip yield, that we can just take that, now we need to just redirect it up and forward. So that maybe help a little bit too there, Ellen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Ellen, if your horse is doing that, to me, that sounds like he's really starting to understand the leg anyway. And when we're riding, we talk kind of our dressage mantra is that the leg initiates, the seat initiates, the leg motivates, and the rein validates, So if that horse is moving off your legs like that, your legs really are motivating your horse, and that's what their job is to do.
I would say kind of exactly the same thing. My seat is going to help them know what gear, where I'm thinking, and then the leg or the stick, if I was on the ground, is going to be the gas pedal. And you want to know what gear your car is in, just step on the gas. It's either going to go somewhere, forwards or backwards. It's going to go nowhere because it's in neutral or park. Okay, and it's going to tell you that's what gear I'm in. So you want to know what your horse is thinking, just get on the gas a little bit, get your legs on there a little bit more, and then you can go, that's not what I meant. And it's that same idea of your leg encouraging. So very well said.
Awesome. Very good. So let's see, we've got some questions popping up over here. Somebody's laughing about the Captain Stretchy Pants comment.
Thank you for
that. Hi, Lori. Great to see you joining us on here. Thank you, Sue. It's good to see you on here as well. That's awesome. Colton.
Yeah,
Colton Woods has got a question on here for us, and I don't know if Colton even knows it or not yet, but on is it Monday, I believe, I'll be visiting with Colton, and here's a little notification. Colton and I are going to do a live Q&A also.
Yeah, I'll be logged on to that. Are we looking for that?
I don't know if he knew it yet. So, guys, make sure we check in with Colton Woods Horsemanship. Also, we're going to be doing a live Q&A on Monday with him. So, Colton brought in a question here for us. The flying lead change. Could you talk through... this is something we've been chatting about a lot lately. Could you talk through the order of events and key important pieces that you keep in mind when working through the flying lead change, such as straightness, things like that?
Okay.
So I know, Jake, we've been playing around with your horses quite a bit with the lead changes, and you've done quite a bit of work with them. You kind of got a killer lead change horse out there too. So you went through with that.
So when I'm thinking lead change, it's really going to depend on how advanced the horse is. I've been kind of realizing as I've done, started a few fresh horses that didn't know anything before they came to me, and it was after I had already taught quite a few horses to do lead changes, how soon I could put it in there. And I've been holding a pretty good track record that between 3 and 6 rides, I got horses already doing lead changes, and that's the only rides they've ever had. And the way that you can kind of set that up to happen is, as long as they understand a little pressure on the right hip is going to mean forward and take a left lead, and then you tap them on the left hip and it's going to mean forward and a right lead. Pretty quick you start getting out there, and as long as they're confident with the tapping and the encouragement there first, and then they understand that yield, you can start making a pattern out of that. Like tap them on the butt over here, get that right lead, and just go around, and then just start tapping them on the right hip till they find their way to a left lead. And pretty quickly they do that as a flying change instead of having to slow down. And I just stay out of their way and allow that to happen. You have the young horse, I've been riding Tadpole, and no joke, by ride 3, he was doing his first change because I asked him, and by ride 6, we were doing 2 and 3 down the length of the arena with no trouble. And now he's got about 50 rides, and you can do a change every 3 strides. And with picking him up, and he's got maybe 20 rides at the most, probably more, 15 with the snaffle bit, and it just stays out of the way. So you can set it up like that, Colton, and it be really simple, especially when you know what a lead change feels like. You've already ridden it a lot of times. You know how to present your body to them so that you're out of the way and still encouraging them to make that move. With other horses, I do a lot more. They might be overly confident and not have a lot of great yielding. Okay, and so they're going to be heavy on the leg, or if you use a stick, a lot of times you almost always will see me riding with my spurs on and a stick, so that way I can do a little bit less and not have to be out there saying, please get off my leg. Okay, and or having to do a lot then with the reins. And I'll spend more time on the yield. So really making sure that I can isolate nose, neck, shoulder, ribs, hip, and I do a lot of, we just were filming yesterday and talked about the idea of, can you make a canter transition with the hip leading, or do you do it off of a leg yield? And there's pros and cons to both, and I'll make sure that I can kind of have both working for me, that I have a really good leg yield. So I might do, here, look. We're all set up. I'll draw you a little picture of a pattern I use. Colton. Here we go. So I think about my arena. Okay. And in my arena, I keep markers for the center line and the quarter line, so that depending on who's riding, they can see all that stuff working. Okay. And I might put a circle on this end in between the quarter lines. Okay. And then a circle on this end in between the quarter lines. And then you end up with this nice long straight diagonal that connects. And if I can get a horse that they can ride this circle, make a straight line, because it's on the quarter line, it's off the rail. So the horse is really having to stay in between my hands and my legs. Okay? And so if I can ride that circle and those straight lines, and then I start making this move, okay, or this move as a leg yield. So when I'm going to take the diagonal, I could just ride the diagonal, or I could keep them straight and shift laterally across the arena, and that starts to set them up that as the horse comes around laterally over here, it softens them up, and then you start needing to feel the hind leg. That's going to be the new hind leg. So here, if I'm on a left lead and I'm pushing them over, the right hind goes to the left front, I want to start feeling for when the right hind on the ground, so now I can go ready and get off of my now right leg and go from the left hind to the right front. Okay, and you'll get this kind of hula hip motion. Are you riding from this one to this one, or this one to this one? Okay, and I might go over, and now change that rhythm. Okay, and so that pattern can be really helpful. And then along the way, I up all of my yields. And then I can also exaggerate, again, depending on the horse. Some horses, you just canter them over here on the left lead, and you go ready and spank, and they make the change. Okay, but if they know too much about not making the change and too much about not making the yield, then I might do things like making sure I can really bring the shoulders over and lead with the hindquarters, because I'm going to spend a lot of time on my haunches in maneuvers at a walk, a trot, and a canter before I ever ask for the change. Was what you'll find is, nope, they're not going to get it. And no amount of whacking here, and pulling, and doing all this stuff is going to set you up. So can I just get them really good, feeling comfortable to swing here and swing there? I think something that really set me up for that was watching Jimmy Anderson at the Road of the Horse, and he had that wild card horse of his. It would canter down the arena like this, and then he could just swing it the total opposite direction with the hindquarters would jump. The hindquarters would jump from here to over here to over here and make that lead change. And it was what was a very exaggerated doing it with the haunches in versus off of a leg yield. So it's not good or bad. It's just a different way of doing it. And it made me go, holy crap, my hindquarter yield into the direction I'm going are not good enough yet. And I went home and played with that. And it didn't take me any time at all to start really changing that up. So having that awareness and recognizing, is it a problem? Or is it just something that the horse doesn't know how not to do it? So you don't teach them that they can't not do lead change. And that's where with these horses you can, in just a very few rides, stay out of the way. And it's pretty exaggerated gross motor, but just we're going over there or we're going over there, and they kind of get happy to follow. So those are some of my patterns, my setup, and my builds. And then Colton, I saw in there you talked about like straightness. Straightness is super important, and how I might look at it is when I talked about it, you've got 4 legs, but can you start riding them from straight on this diagonal from the left hind to the right front so that leads, okay? Or are you riding them straight down that diagonal? Again, the hindquarters is going to be leading, but it's going to really help you be guaranteed you're going to get that lead. And so that way, if they don't make the change, well, you can go, hi, you missed. And that helps them go, oh, sorry, versus just could you leg yield them this way and then leg yield them the other way. And they're very straight this way. Okay, there's a few ways that I start thinking about straightness just to be creative. And then the more I learn about that, you're going to find where it's going to fit for different sports. Okay, it's very okay in most Western sports to just jump that hip over there. And again, that's something where I mentioned Jimmy Anderson. That really is his wheelhouse. Versus or dressage, you're not going to make your lead change like that in a dressage test. It's just not the way they want to see it. It's a different style. So if you want to share your thoughts with keeping it more straight in this way and how to set that pattern and build that off the leg yield, that would be a piece for Colton.
And that with with the idea of dressage, we do a lot of leg yield, and you don't have to be dressage, but that's kind of more where I'm coming from. So with the pattern, the diagram that Jake has drawn for us here, this coming across diagonally from circle to circle, that leg yield, say we're on that left lead, the leg yield left and to canter right. If we think about where the transition happens, or where the flying change happens, a proper flying change happens from the hind feet to the front feet. Okay, we see horses that are late in the changes. They'll change the shoulders most of the time, and then the hindquarters have to catch up. But the proper change that's biomechanically correct happens from the hind feet and comes through to the front feet. So what we want to think about is what's going on in those hind feet that's allowing them, enabling them to change from one lead to the next. And the leg yield is, to me, an essential piece of that, for exactly the same reason that Jake is talking about doing the leg yields, and also for the same reason that he's talking about moving the haunches to the inside. It's about the suppleness of the horse's low back. What's going on in the horse's back behind the saddle? If we're struggling with our lead changes, there's a very good chance that either A, the horse is just not sensitive to the aids, okay? And we talked, you can have the horse sensitive to those aids from the very first or second ride when you're tapping kind of that outside leg saying, hey, kind of move off here. So it's either a lack of sensitivity to the aids or it's stiffness, tightness in the horse's back, okay? So we need to be riding to get that back loosened up. And your leg yields, we say it all the time, a leg yield is the aspirin for the horse's back. Leg yield really helps to loosen the horse's back up and help him to prepare for that. Everything else that we talked about here, I would say is pretty much the same. It's about getting the horse relaxed in the canter or the lope. It's about getting the horse confident with the job that they're doing. And it's about helping them to understand the sensitivity to the aids, to the legs. And that's why, with some of these horses, we can be getting in the second, third ride, we can be getting flying changes on these horses. Or at the very least, from the first ride, we're getting the preparation for the changes because we're getting an understanding of the leg. And that, we could kind of go on with that. I'm a big stickler on not using a lot of leg with a horse as far as to really help them or push them around.
Shove them around with that lower leg.
Absolutely. To me, the leg is a request. And the whip or the stick or the macate or the rommel, depending on what you're doing with your horse and where he's at, that's the reinforcement, right? So I'm going to say with my leg, here's a question, right? What's 2 plus 2, right? And if the horse says purple, right? Then it's not even on the same page. So we've got to get together a little more. I might need a little bit more reinforcement, but I'm never going to add, and I know from seeing you ride that you're on the same page. I'm not going to add more leg. I'm not going to add a lot of leg to help my horse understand the leg. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to add a reinforcement to that. I'm going to say, if you move off my leg when I touch this way, with this much pressure, whatever that pressure is, right? For me, it's very sensitive. If you, when I touch with this leg like this, then I don't have to spank with my whip or with the stick. Or with
don't
whatever,
make me pick up that stick. Don't make me help you.
Absolutely. Okay. It's not about babysitting them with our legs. It's about them understanding the leg aids.
Right. And that then becomes that idea, if we were going to say confidence, they got to be confident with your legs touching them, confident with the stick rubbing and being around them, to then really looking at, okay, do you understand the yields? Okay, I'm going to put this much on, and if not, then I might start tapping as soft as possible with the stick to back the leg up to as firm as they make me do it till they make an effort, and then later we're going to, that's kind of a teaching and controlling is how you could say that. And then when I start really looking at reinforcing, that's how I make a game out of it. That's how I make it not about just using pressure, F and move already. That's a rude way of doing it. It's you're going to be going as soft as I can, and then I'm going to just get effective and say, hey, that meant something. And then I'll reset and ask it again. I saw Ryan Rose was on here. That's a great thing that he likes to say. We're going to use soft as you can, and then get effective, and then reset, and then you just ask again, and that way it becomes a game. Do you want the good deal, or do you want the not so good deal? So you kind of get a little Howie Mandel deal or no deal, and go from there. So that starts to progress out into then refining it, where now you can just put that little bit of leg on there, and you're not having to back it up with an aid.
Right.
So
absolutely. Okay. So again, guys, if you're on here, please invite your friends, tag your friends in the comments below. Add your questions to the comments below. If we don't get a chance to answer them now, we'll each have them that we can do maybe another live deal. I'm going to be leaving tomorrow, but Jake can do a live deal and answer some of your questions, and I can do the same thing, answer some of your questions. So don't stop. And once the live broadcast is over, be sure that you share the video with your friends. We're going to each have them. They're going to stay here on the Facebook page. So that's going to be a great resource for you to take a look back. If you didn't catch the whole broadcast, you can start over from the beginning, and yeah, absolutely. There we go. So let's see if we have any more questions. Carla wants to know, based on your diagram there, I'll give a close-up for my camera here so that you guys can see that diagram a little bit more. Carla wants to know, how big are those circles?
Carlo, that might be like a 15 to 20 meter circle. Okay, if you had a 100 by a 200 arena, it's going to be in. You could almost, for my arena here at the foundation station, when we kind of practice and set up a dressage arena, we almost operate within the quarter lines. It's that big of a space. So I'd say between a 15 to 20 meter circle, and then depending on the horse, for me, as they get more advanced, I'm going to make that a tighter and tighter circle so that they're really listening to that outside leg and as a wall. So that way it sets a boundary, and they need to stay off it and find the way to fit in there. And that also is going to help me when I start making those laterals across and the new outside leg comes on and I make that jump. I talk about doing a karate kick. You're kind of kicking from your left foot and you're doing a karate kick with your right leg, karate kick with your right leg, so you're going to jump to standing on your right leg and make a karate kick with your left leg. That's kind of my lead change. And if they don't respect that outside leg, so again, as you did a smaller circle, that's going to help with that. You're going to see that also help you on your lead change. So
there we go.
Hope that helps.
And now when Jake talks about the karate kick, we don't want you thinking that he's talking about really kicking on your horse.
Kicking the horse.
So,
it's the open on the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the opening leg there to help the horse understand the coming through. So hopefully that helped you. Now I know, Jake, whenever I was holding this camera up here, I was blocking the view over here. So, hopefully everybody can see how that's going.
Station. Hey, so there's our diagram. You can see the quarter lines, center line, okay, and then we've got the circles and the lateral move, okay. Whoa! Hey, there's Dee Dee. Hi, Dee Dee. Hey, there we are.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know you could do that while we were going live. That's pretty awesome.
Okay, let's see. Hey, beloveds. Hi, Dad. Hi, Catherine. Sherry says, suggestions on how to help catch the mind quicker so the herd dynamics and energy aren't as distracting to help focus better on what we're working on.
Hey, look at that. We can watch ourselves.
We can watch. All right. Patrick, you want to share something with our friend Sherry there? She just had her horse, Mr. T, Big Sexy, with us for a while. Suggestions on catching the mind quicker, so the herd dynamics, so she's got a pretty good herd of horses at home that sometimes can help pull his mind back to the herd. And so some ideas, thoughts on keeping his attention so that she doesn't have to do so much later, kind of a less sooner rather than more later?
Oh gosh, that to me, that's a question that's going to depend a lot on who each of those horses, and that horse specifically, is kind of as a person. That's a touchy one. To me, and this is where I feel with some of these live broadcasts, that's almost something I feel like I would have to see in person. Yeah. But I think that some of that can be used, or some of that can be brought on with the groundwork that we do. Once you've got your horse, once you have him in hand and you're doing some of your in-hand work or your groundwork, to me, I think that would be about really getting him sensitive to the questions that we're asking him in our groundwork once we have him caught, so that then he understands that he needs to take us a little bit more seriously. Yep. When he's out there loose. And that would be something where if I had a corral that I could work with one, I might do some. I don't do a whole lot of liberty training, but that might be something that I did. I'd want to be able to work that horse in an arena or around corral where I'm not directly connected to him through the lead rope or through the bridle, so that he learns how to stay focused on me. when we're in a situation like that. And again, to me, it's about who that horse is as a person and who all of the other horses are as a person,
where he fits in the herd.
Where he fits in the herd. I've seen some horses that, they're more dominant in the herd, some horses that are less dominant, kind of bottom of the dynamic, bottom of the ladder there. And then I've seen some horses that to me are the most interesting, that will fit themselves in between whoever they're with. So they're always kind of the middle of the road sort of a horse. They're the get along guy. And if they want to avoid being caught, they're pretty keen on hiding between anybody that's out there, being that get along guy. They fit in real well anywhere. And those can be a little tricky. Those ones to me are the ones that I would probably work more loose at liberty, that kind of a thing, to help them understand that their confidence comes being with me. And as a friend of mine, Tom Curtin said to me quite a few years ago whenever I was riding with Ray Hunt, he said a line that he teaches, or a line that he talks about at his clinics, is it doesn't matter what I think of your horsemanship. It really doesn't even matter what you think of your horsemanship. What's really important is how your horse feels about himself when he's with you. So I want to work with that horse in such a way that helps him to feel like he's the greatest thing on four legs anytime I'm around. So when I think about catching horses, I think about that a lot in how can I help my horse to feel really good when he's with me, so that when he looks at me, he says, oh man, I would rather be with that guy than I would in this herd, That's kind of how I think of that.
Yeah, so. And I very much agree with that. And that's the thing where you won't see me very often when I'm out having a session with a horse. That
I think we need to sneak somebody in here.
We can sneak him in here. I think it's really important that I don't use a lot of cookies in my development sessions with my horses, but there's times, depending on that horse and how far along they are, if I already have confidence and yielding, then I'll start adding that motivation, a little, hey, that was nice. By the way, I know you love these cookies. Would you like to have one now?
All the kids come running when the ice cream truck comes to town.
So how can I have that good deal? And so I might do it at the end of my session. My good gray horse, a lot of times I remind the interns and apprentices helping me, I'll say, hey, make sure he feels special. Because he is. And so at the end of his session, he gets to go in, maybe go in the stall for a bit, have a nice thing of hay cubes, an extra scoop of grain, and it's like he's doing enough riding that one, he can handle the calories to do that, and two, it's something that I know makes him feel special, that when he's getting that regularly after, that's kind of how I feel like that he gauges knowing he did a good job. Okay, versus it's like if you just go, there you go, good job, great horse, you did everything I said, and I pull the saddle off and pull the bridle off, and I just go turn him back out with his friends. It's the reward that he's done, and he gets to go back out, but there wasn't that little bit of extra to help him feel good that he kind of be thinking about when I go back the next time to get him, that he starts going, I get to go in there, we'll do a little something, maybe work a few cows, do a few lead changes, whatever it might be that day. And then I get to hang out and I get a little extra something. And so those are things that I'm trying to think about all the time to again, just draw that mind. Okay. And like you said, doing enough to keep their mind busy. Are your aids, are your requests meaning enough to them that it gets their attention? And it might be that you have to add frequency to your requests depending on where you're at. That you're not just going to go, okay, can you step on this pedestal? Great job. And then, what do I do next? Oh yeah, could you back up? Now, you're so late that they had all this time to think about something else. Versus, there might be a time, and I know Sherry's horse, that horse needed for a time, have a request, allow him to stand there and think and lick and chew and kind of go in his happy place and process. That wasn't such a bad deal. Wow, this was great. I love when I'm out with her. And then he wakes back up and he's ready to do something new. Okay, versus now, if he's back home and other horses are there, you have to be, hey, pay attention, hey, all the time that you are putting so much into him, he doesn't have to think about anything else. Versus as soon as you quit talking, now it's his turn to go, whoa, by the way, what about that? Squirrels, butterflies, and get distracted. So that's something for Sherry to maybe think about too, is that frequency at which you're asking things of him so that he can stay with you and not get lost in his ideas. Not that his ideas are bad ideas. It might just not be appropriate for the time and place for his ideas, which is, what about my friends? We're going to get to your friends when we're done talking about this. So that way he knows, okay, mommy and daddy are talking right now. Wait, and then they have that conversation. Same as I might with a child. I don't tell them to shut up when we're talking. It's like, hi, I understand that you have something to say. Can you wait your turn for a second? I'm talking with Patrick or whatever it is. That way they feel appropriate in their request for conversation, or that their idea is validated, but you don't make them wrong for it. And then they kind of learn that patience that it'll be their turn in a minute. So
yeah, absolutely. And that gets back to, you've got to understand who that horse is as an individual.
Exactly.
Talking about the gray horse, giving him kind of the cookies and the extra benefits. And there are some horses that don't care for those things.
No.
There's some horses that that doesn't mean anything to them.
Nope.
Yet maybe for those horses, the hanging out with you.
Exactly.
And just being okay. Just
my
being
mind.
there. So there's some horses, back whenever I had a training barn, now I'm on the road full-time teaching, but back when I had a training barn, if I had one horse out in a herd of 10 that was difficult to catch, I would go, and in between working, every horse that I had to work with that day, I would catch that horse.
Yeah.
And then and maybe I might just scratch on him and pet on him for a couple minutes, scratch on him a little bit, and then turn him loose again, and that horse got to thinking, and there were several horses over the years that I had to do that with. That horse got to thinking, I'm going to be caught, and it's going to feel good.
Exactly.
And I'm not going to have to work. And they'll work one time out of 10, maybe, that I catch them, but they'll never know which one that one is,
right.
So, again, it's about what motivates the horse. Some of those horses, they didn't care about cookies, they didn't care about the treats, they didn't care about being in the stall, but they really cared about feeling okay, and feeling good about themselves, and don't we all, but we all feel good about ourselves in different ways. Some of us, maybe myself, if there's a cookie involved, then I'm there, sign me up for that. But, for some of us that don't care too much about that, then we've got to find those. What makes that individual feel the best about himself?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
and the mind is a muscle, and you have to exercise it. Same with the catch. Just if you want to get your arm stronger, you're going to have to do some reps, like you talked about. If you want that catch to be stronger, you're going to have to do some reps. How many times did you go out there every day, take advantage of, hey, how are you? Good to see you. And there's something sweet in it for them. And then those times that you actually catch them and ask them to do something for you, it's not such a big deal. I use the analogy of if I wanted somebody to come over and help me move some furniture, I might make sure every time they come over, I've got their favorite drink or snack ready for them, and I might have them over a time or two before I ever ask them, hey, by the way, could you help me move this thing? Okay. Versus the only ever time their phone rings is when I want something, and then they stop answering. And I don't want to be that person to my horse, and I don't want to be that friend to my friends that it's like the only time they ever hear from me is when I need something. It's just it doesn't help the relationship as much. So
right.
Similar idea.
All right, gang. We hope that was helpful to you. We've actually been chatting for an hour now. So this is the longest broadcast that I've done. So I do see somebody hanging outside the door there. Doesn't realize it, probably because of the delay, that we're going to call him in here and make him join us live.
I'll go open the door.
If we don't catch him before the delay, he might
questions.
just run off before Jake gets him. So Jake's going to get out there and catch him quick. So here's your last moment chance to put in any extra questions that you might have for our live broadcast. It's been great having you guys join us here. So here he comes sneaking in now. Oh, he's got to get the wardrobe on. We'll turn this around, see if we can see. Here he comes. Come on over here, join us back behind the stage. Hey, it's Dancing Pete!
How's it going?
Good to see
Good
you.
to see you. Yes, sir. I just stopped by to say hi. I didn't know you guys were...
Yeah, having a little fun on the Facebook. So there you go. Maybe BBRC, we'll have to do another Facebook Live, and I really enjoy collaboration, taking the time with somebody like Patrick, a good friend of mine, one of my very best friends, Pete. We'll have to do another one with him where we can do these kind of community question and answer so that you get lots of perspective, lots of different thoughts and ideas that can help you get going a lot better with your horses. So that's something that I enjoy here, and that's what we really try to promote here. I know Patrick does the same thing. Again, he said he's going to visit with Colton soon, so keep your guys' eyes out for Colton Woods Horsemanship, and you guys doing a live Q&A. Be really great opportunity for, again, more learning, more thoughts and ideas from a lot of different perspectives. I think you just can't get enough of that. It really helps us be diverse.
Nobody knows everything.
That's right.
That's what I found out.
That's it. Absolutely. You know, I'm a big believer of this collaborative kind of deal. You know, it's so important. Like you said, you know, nobody knows everything. But you know, I don't know. Maybe they didn't like it. You think?
I don't know.
It could be that they didn't like it. I don't know if you guys really enjoyed this live collaborative broadcast. Leave us some comments down below the video here. Let us know what you thought. Let us know if you'd like us to, you know, find some time to do this again, do this more often. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody else do this collaborative kind of thing. So maybe we're on to something awesome.
I think
or, you know, I mean, maybe they'll tell us they didn't like it. Maybe it was lame.
Well, I see some likes flying across the screen there. So
there's some hearts flying.
You guys keep sending us those hearts. Get your questions down in there so that we can answer them either on the next one or we can reply to your comments after. And make sure that you share the video once it's loaded on our different pages. Share it with your friends so that they can see what we talked about and they be aware that we're doing fun things like with Patrick King Horsemanship and BRC Foundation Station, and don't forget Dancing Pete.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We hope that you'll join us again next time. Again, you know, keep adding questions down below, and we'll keep making videos.
There you go.
The more questions, the more times you'll see these guys.
There you go.
That's it. Could be good or bad. I don't know. We shall see.
Thanks, guys.